All right, here we are.
Here we are.
Discovering and unlocking your brain type, your secret superpowers for change in the brain. And we do this through braintype.me. And that's where the brain type test is found. It's 20 questions, it's really fast. And then what they end up with is, like you did, is learning their brain type. Then when you get that brain type test results, you get your secret superpower brain hacks to literally rewire your brain.
That's pretty cool.
Physically rewire your brain to think and act differently. And the reason that's so helpful is because people, especially for health and fitness purposes, want to achieve their goals. But if it's a big struggle, or if they're sabotaging, or back and forth a lot, yo-yo diet, all that kind of stuff, it's because they're fighting their brain.
Oh, I see.
And so I developed this brain type test to help people hack their brain, understand their brain better, and find secret superpower rewiring techniques to change it.
That's really cool.
Because they're rewiring along the way. They're changing their brain as they're changing their body and fitness inside and out. And so both are different at the end. Whereas a lot of people will be on the struggle bus until they get to their goals, if they even do. And then they'll snap back to the way they were because they have to change their brain.
Maintain the...
Because their brain stayed the same. So today we're talking about the change process. It's called neuroplasticity. Where the brain is plastic and it will change if we know how. And this brain type test gives people the tools to do that. And it's the biggest part of the journey, the process, is actually changing your brain. So if you ever see somebody achieve their goals, and I'm sure they struggled along the way, everybody does, because that's work, right? It's hard work. But then if they achieve it and stay that way, it's because they figured out, without really knowing how to do this, but it's rare. Most people can't do that. Most people do the struggle bus, and then if they do achieve their goals, it's really hard to keep them. And it's because the brain doesn't want to change.
It's like biological tendencies, right? Like a lot of it. Because I remember when I took the brain type, I think mine was like, I would just tend to eat like all the time. Like food was like crazy. And that, I mean, it makes sense because I'm hungry like all the time. I'm like, need food.
And part of that is you're active, you work out all the time, you're an athlete, but part of that is also genetic. It's in your code. But most of it is your brain type, which is genetic too. But also, there's a nature-nurture thing. The nature is genetic, and the nurture is how you were raised, and the things. And this attempts to change the nurture part of that very effectively. But here's the exciting thing: is it also over time will change the nature side of that. It can't change your genetics, but it can change your epigenetics. So there's a different school of thought. It's a very recent school of thought where there's your chromosomes, that's not changeable. But you can look in those chromosomes and see which things are turned on and turned off in that gene, right?
Interesting.
And you have control of that. The genes that you're born with aren't your destiny because of epigenetics. But also because the extreme plasticity of the brain, even more so than your genome. So people who are born a certain way can be actually opposite of that.
Wow.
In their wiring and their personality, pretty short period of time, if they know how to do it. And, certain things happen in our lives. It might be something really amazing good, or it might be something awful, horrible, bad. And that can really change our brain fast, too. And so these brain training techniques are kind of like that, without the trauma, in helping people go a certain way really fast. Now, there's, of course, with trauma, it's not a panacea or healing kind of a thing as much. It can be, but it's not saying that people need to stop seeing their therapist, right? That's a whole different thing. These are just shortcuts and hacks to help,
biohacks,
right, to get there faster. today we're talking about why the brain doesn't like to change. And the main reason is, even though it can change and easily can change if you know how, it doesn't like to because change takes energy. The body is programmed for efficiency.
Yeah.
And that's how we're designed and created, is to be efficient.
And that's why it's so hard for people to get outside their comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. Because we sit in our homes with our thermostats that adjust.
They're creatures of habit.
If it's 2 or 3 degrees off what we set the thermostats to, we're in this comfort zone. It feels good to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And so, like in this building, this is an apartment building, and there's a lot of techies that live in this building, and they work from home now. And they're coders, and they're working at home, and then they don't really drive anywhere. They're introverts, so they're fine being alone. And then when they're done with their work, they get on their Xbox and they play video games.
Yeah.
And so they're sitting down all day inside in their comfortable apartment, in their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then when they're in their 50s, they're
neck slouch, everything.
They've got
posture.
The horrible posture. That is really hard. It's correctable, but it's really hard to do. And then they've got all these spine problems, and they've got emotional issues because they haven't been outside with getting vitamin D and interacting with other humans as much as they should. And super bad health. They've got heart disease. Their arteries are clogging up, and they're diabetic, and they're just a mess. And like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Well, your body's not designed to do that. And so you totally screwed it up. And it's, a lot of it is reversible, but some of it's permanent damage too. Because you stayed in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Change never happens within your comfort zone.
So true.
Change only happens outside of your comfort zone. Yeah. You became a better football player with sweat equity, putting work into it.
Failing consistently.
Failing all the time. Learning from it. Being okay with that, just like we do here. I mean, the main goal.
What's crazy
is to make people fail.
It's so addictive though, and it's so fun. Like when you push yourself outside your comfort zone, and then you have that like thrill and that joy of like attempting to achieve it, and then you can't, and then fail, but then you learn, and then you finally achieve it. It's like it makes you feel so much more alive.
Oh yeah, totally. So. Yeah. Because every little success along the way is a dopamine hit.
Exactly.
And then the dopamine hit, huge dopamine hit you get when you succeed there is addicting. And it's the process along the way that's actually even more addicting than the goal of reaching the goal. And then you want to start the process over because that's what you're addicted to. Most people don't understand that. Athletes do. People who have accomplished really great things understand it. But your average person just doesn't get it. They're like, oh, that sounds awful. To to fail and to work hard and all that kind of stuff. And understandably so, because we're created to be efficient, to slow down, to not burn energy and calories and things. And that's the status quo. And the brain likes the status quo. Because that's efficient. And so when we start changing, and we go outside of our comfort zone, the brain says, nope, let's get back inside that comfort zone. We like the status quo. We don't like change. That takes energy. And we've talked before about making new neural pathways. It's kind of like beating a path through the forest. It's hard to do.
It's like creating habits too.
Same thing.
They're correlated.
That's a habit is a new neural network. New neural pathway. And it's hard to do. It's beating a path. And the more you travel that path and work on it, the easier it is to go down that path. And so eventually, that's the easy thing. And now you want to stay on your paths that you created. Because remember how hard driving was when you first learned how to do it?
That's so true. It was so scary and so hard to like learn how to drive, and then now it's like second nature, and you don't thinking about other stuff.
And you get home and you don't remember the drive. How did I get here? I don't remember. It's because it's automatic. The hard part is the prefrontal cortex beating down that path through the woods, and then pretty soon you've gone down the path so many times that now it's easy, and the subconscious brain says, okay, I'll take that over. So now it goes from the PFC into the subconscious. Okay. And you don't have to think about it anymore. That's how you can get home without remembering how you got there. Yeah. To drive along the way. Because it's automatic now. It's not your PFC doesn't have to do the work. And that's the work part of the brain. And the subconscious says, anytime we start doing something new and learning something new or forming a new habit, the subconscious says, oh, don't do that. It's too much work. And it's constantly, there's this battle going on between the PFC and the subconscious. Call this the parent brain. This is the toddler brain. And the subconscious usually wins unless we're aware of this battle.
Oh, I see.
And we know the techniques to get around it, to program.
That's really interesting. What are like certain techniques that we can implement to program like around it? So for example, like we mentioned about like habits and stuff and how like, you know, we're creatures of habit and making new neurological pathways. Like for me, it's easier to like do bench press or lift a bar or whatever than like create healthy study habits. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so like, how could I like biohack that to where I could enjoy like doing like study habits, stuff like that?
So the first part is awareness. It's just knowing that this is going on. There's that inner battle going on. And then the second part is just determining the parent brain's going to win. The toddler will give in eventually. And so just working at it. But the easiest way to do that is to appreciate the journey. So especially when it gets hard. So there's another technique that we haven't talked about yet in the podcast called the trigger technique. And it's where something will trigger something in your behavior. And so in this case, you can use the trigger technique to notice and appreciate when it gets hard. And that's your trigger. So the feeling that, oh, this is so hard, that's your trigger to then say, oh, yay, this is when results are happening. Because when it's hard is when you're creating the most new nerve pathways in the brain.
Oh, I should write that down. That's really good.
And it's the same with this. When it we tell people here, when it gets hard is when you're actually starting to get results. See, at other gyms, people work out until it starts to get hard and uncomfortable. They get to the edge of their comfort zone and they go, ooh, oh, this really burns. And then they stop, right? And they take a break and they do another set. I'm talking about sets and reps, which we don't do here. We do time under tension where it gets hard. After about 30 seconds, it starts to burn. And after a minute, it's like, oh my gosh. And after 2 minutes, like, oh, please let me quit. But then as trainers, we're like, oh no, this is where the results actually start and why we get results so much better and faster than other places. Because we're taking people outside of their comfort zone and then kicking them down the street outside of that to really stretch it out. I mean, the more you do it, the bigger that comfort zone gets.
Exactly.
Same thing with studies. So you start, you're going, oh, I can't.
Like the trigger would be like, oh, I have a final essay. It's like, I don't want to write all this stuff, whatever.
It's doing the studies. It's getting into it. It's starting. Okay, that's sometimes the hardest part. And that's why we tell people here, just getting here is the hardest part of it. Once you're here, we'll take over. Just showing up. So just show up, and then leave the rest to us. So with studies, show up and start. And then once you start, then there's a little bit of momentum. Then you're going to get to the point where it's hard. You're like, oh, why am I not getting this? Or why is this so hard? That's your trigger now. This is what you write down. And you have a Post-it somewhere it's just right now you're getting it. Now you're learning it. Now you're creating new nerve pathways that are going to serve you when you're in the test. Because then you can recall those pathways because you made them right now. That's why it's so hard. And so then one of the things you can do is you can go, yes, this is hard. Do the victory pose. Change your posture. Focus physiology belief. Break that pattern of suffering. Go, yes, this is hard. I'm learning. I'm getting it now. And then use that as a little dopamine hit. Because this...
like almost it's like physical motivation a little bit, right? Like just zapping your body.
Because the toddler inside doesn't know you're acting.
Oh.
So overacting.
Okay.
Yeah. You can even stand up and go, yes, this is so hard. I love it.
Yes, I'm an essay. I like tests. That's so true. But
yeah, and that's what. So we talked about two parts. We talked about getting started, and then we talked about when it's hard after you've started.
Yeah.
And you can do this in both cases. So you go, yes, I have a really hard test coming up. Oh, yes, this essay is going to be so tough. I love it.
Yeah.
My brain's going to change so much. And then the benefits of this brain change isn't just wonderful anti-aging and be able to learn better in the future and all that kind of stuff because you're changing your brain, but it's getting better at changing your brain. That's a benefit in and of itself. Because every time you force your brain to change, that neuroplasticity, the changing of the brain gets easier. It gets a little bit easier every time. And so it's another rep.
Yeah.
And making your brain stronger and more changeable and malleable.
That's awesome.
So there's so many layers of benefits that we just described.
That's really cool.
And it's understanding all of them, writing them down, posting them, because your subconscious brain is also going to try to sabotage you and make you forget these reasons.
Interesting.
And there's that little voice inside there saying, oh no, you just go eat something. Take a break. Oh my gosh, so much hard work. Go eat something. And then you go and eat something, and now it's pushed you off the wagon.
Yeah, and then you're more stressed for the deadline for.
And then it says, "Yeah, you need some sleep. You worked really hard. Just go to bed. Just go to bed early. Wake up, you'll feel refreshed, and it'll lie to you as well."
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, toddlers are liars too.
Oh. Yeah. That's so interesting, like just becoming more aware of that subconscious, like the voice that wants to keep us inside our comfort zone of just like biologically speaking, like from our brain, and then like being aware of that and like pushing past that. That's so true, because I noticed even like with essays and stuff, it's like, okay, like once it gets hard and it's like really frustrating, but then when I push through, I tend to have the best ideas for like
bingo
the paper or whatever it is, because it's like I have to like challenge myself. So like when it's challenging, then it's like sometimes the best results come from pushing through those challenges.
Absolutely. When it often results happen, they're just right around the corner from where you quit.
Exactly.
If you just took that one more step, it's like, oh, I got it. It's all about the comfort zone. It's still about the comfort zone. And making the brain, there's also really easy steps that people can do to make their brain more malleable and changeable and open to change, like going to a new grocery store instead of the one you're used to.
Interesting.
Or taking a different route home in the car
that
you've never taken before or you rarely take. It might take a minute longer, but now you're paying attention instead of zoning out.
Okay. Cool.
And you're purposely making things harder. Now here's the hardest one, is take your computer mouse and start using your left hand.
Oh yeah, becoming ambidextrous. That's so true.
Or just easier brushing your teeth with
sometimes
your left hand.
I try to write with my left hand.
There you go, there's another one.
Yeah.
Yes. And doing little things like that,
or like reading
that's
upside
hard.
down.
Reading upside down. Yeah.
So that what do those things do? Like doing the little things, like if you just like switch it, it'll like instead of change your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
It'll make you focus.
It opens your brain to doing it, to change.
Interesting.
So then you're teaching the parent brain, the PFC, is teaching the toddler. Change is good. Change is fun. Look how good this feels. It used to be painful. Now it feels good. And now you're a brain change ninja. And over time, you start to crave change. And you want to do things different.
Habit of change.
Bingo.
That's the goal.
Bingo.
That's the main goal. That's
awesome. Because you know how when you learn the first language, because are you bilingual or
bilingual?
Okay. So you know Mandarin and you know English. And you're fluent in both.
Yeah.
If you were to learn a third language now, it would be twice as easy as Mandarin it was to learn. Now, you grew up learning Mandarin, so for you it's easier than... But your brain is wired for another language. It's going to be twice as easy as it is for me to learn that third language.
That's so true, because one of my friends that grew up in my international school in China, he's from Norway, but now, and he moved to Thailand and stuff too, so he speaks Thai, Norwegian, Chinese, English, and French. He knows like 5 languages now or something. I'm like, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. So,
that's the perfect example of this.
Yeah.
And then your 4th language will be twice as easy as it was to learn your 3rd language. And so pretty soon, you're just a language ninja.
Yeah.
And boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And this is why, like your friend, can know 5 to 8 to 9 languages, because their brain has rewired for that change.
That's
now,
cool.
The techniques we're talking about are broad change, which also helps with learning new things, and languages included. But being a learner and changing to being a learner is really helpful for study.
Yeah,
for school.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this helps with that. Even these general changes, like going a new way home, because you're also changing your attitude. Yep. You're like, yes, it's hard, but it's good.
Exactly.
It's really good for my brain. And this is what I do when I coach people on reversing dementia too.
Oh, wow.
Learning is huge. It's one of my 5 top things to reverse dementia.
That's really
learning
good.
new things, making those new nerve networks, and making the brain better at becoming malleable, changeable, and plastic.
Wow.
To make these new nerve networks easily and quicker.
Yeah.
And that's really the base of this brain training.
Yeah.
It's changing your brain. Because when somebody is overweight and out of shape and sedentary, change is painful. Yeah. Exercise is painful. It's just all pain.
Yeah.
And they're so used to their comfort zone.
Yeah.
But as their brain changes, then it makes coming out of their comfort zone easier. So it's easier changing the brain first than starting exercise first.
Interesting.
Somebody who's really far gone, everyone has hope. Everyone's helpable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But these people that live in these buildings, a first step might be, hey, let's work on your brain first before you come downstairs and work out at the xgym. For a lot of people, that's the case. So then they're great with the change first, and now they're more open to the whole comfort zone concept of stretching their envelopes in their comfort zone, and they're better okay with being okay with change. Now there's a certain culture actually who, in their language, the word for fear is the same as the word for pain. And so I'll see that person here get to the point, 1.5 minutes in to the exercise where the pain gets pretty intense, and I see fear on their face.
Wow.
And they stop because they're feeling pain and fear. Wow. It's just a horrible experience.
Yeah.
But if we can get the brain changing to happen first, then that concept and that get connections broken.
That's so true.
And then they're able to push through.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah, that's like the key, like associating like pain like with positive experiences in certain contexts with like working out, right? Because like if you think of like pain as like negative, you're always gonna like offload, you're always gonna like not push through that challenge. But if you think of it as like growth, you're like, yes, this is gonna make me achieve my goals of XYZ. Like I want to get like less 10 pounds, or I want to get this more fit, or I want to run my marathon, whatever. And if you focus on that goal, I'm like, okay. And then once you hit that pain threshold, that challenge, like focusing on, the goal and the objective is like, okay, like this marathon, like I'm gonna win it, and then push through, and that really helps too.
Yep. And in our modern society, it's the hardest to get people to accept this change because we are in really good times. And good times produces weak people. Yeah. Because we have our thermostats and we have our buttons and we have our food delivery. And everything can come to us.
Massage chairs, everything.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. But you go back 200 years.
Yeah. Didn't have all
we didn't have all that. You had to work for stuff.
Yeah.
And life was hard. They wouldn't say that back then. Yeah. But compared to today's standards, looking back, we're like, oh my gosh, that would have sucked.
Yeah.
Well, they loved it. Thought it was great. And they had to work hard for everything, and that was okay.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore.
Wow.
And so change and fitness, even though it's easier than ever, with all we have per capita more personal trainers than any time in the history of the planet.
Wow.
But we're in the worst shape of any time in the history of the planet.
That's wild. That's wild to think about.
Yeah. So it all comes down to the brain. That's the main reason.
Wow.
And and people have just become too soft and too locked into their comfort zones, and their brains are stuck that way. And the brain type test helps people get unstuck. And so it's often the best first step before exercise, before going to the gym. Because when people don't take that first step and they go to the gym, and they're locked within their comfort zone, and they don't understand any of these concepts, they go, man, this hurts, this is horrible, this is awful. And then they have this horrible bad experience. Now they're locked into that. They never want to do it again. And now they go back home, and now they're worse off because they tried. But if they change their brain first,
then and they become, I really like what you said about like creating a habit of change. And like, you know, pushing through the comfort zone. I think that's really good.
Right on.
Because if you can create a habit of change, you know, like in multiple areas of your life, like you can like do anything. Yeah. That's crazy. That's awesome.
And it's really unlimited potential. And you see that the really successful people, there's lots of ways you can define success, right? You can do Olympic gold medal, wealth, father of the year, you know, whatever, however you want to define the success. The people who stay within their comfort zone never achieve anything. And the people upstairs that are coders at Microsoft, they're making six figures. They don't have needs or wants for material stuff, but they're stuck there. They'll always be a coder. And then they'll retire maybe they'll retire early because they made so much money in their 50s. And now they have to spend all their money on getting healthy because their health has just been decimated. They're miserable. Now, what did it do? That stupid comfort zone just ruined them.
It's sad. What I love learning is, like, I love learning different areas of change, like, through exercise. Like how, like, you can do, like, say, like, a split squat, for example. But if you do it, you can do it, like, 5 or 6 different ways. And it can, like, target different muscles and stuff. And you can do it, like, different variations, like time under tension or, like, all that stuff. And it can have, like, different results. So that's what's really interesting. I really like the creative aspect of fitness, too. It's like, it's really cool.
That's good. Well, that's why you fit in here so well, because people who like their sets and reps and the exercises and the ones they're familiar with and they keep doing them, over time you plateau and you adapt to it and it doesn't work anymore.
And you just get the same results. Like, and then there's no,
but we like mixing stuff up all the time.
Exactly. It's really cool.
Cool. Makes sense?
Awesome.
That
was a good podcast.
Right on.
Good job.
Boom.
Good work.